Does Africa have its own data centers? Do we know what data centers are? And if not, I can start there.
I would say yes, um, purely based off of infrastructure investments. I've seen a number of infrastructure managers invest in data centers in Nigeria. I believe there's one in Ikeja, and then Strive Masiyiwa. So
Yeah,
there are data centers.
there are, but actually, the one that you mentioned, that Strive Masiyiwa, the Zimbabwean telecoms billionaire, started, that one in Zimbabwe is still in the process of being done. Apparently, customs applies to the creation of data centers and getting GPUs and compute to the African continent as well. So they're in the process, I believe, of doing that. But they are doing that. So, yeah, I think that is still in the process and it hasn't been finalized. However, Kenya also has data centers. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about what the importance of data centers are, like why they're so important for our future on the continent in the context of AI. So, if you didn't know, in order for uh, anyone to be able to run an AI model, they need storage. They need cloud storage, they need compute, they need essentially power to enable these models to run. So if you want to run ChatGPT, you need ChatGPT that um, available to the servers that you're on, and those servers need to be available in data centers, which is where servers are typically like stored. So, and in order for ChatGPT to run quickly, you need a lot of compute, which is what people generally term GPUs. So the alternative to GPUs is CPUs, which is a sort of downgraded version of that. And that means that ChatGPT would run slowly. So if you're running on GPUs, then the response you would get when you use whatever chatbot is faster if you are running on GPUs as opposed to CPUs. So, Africa having its own data centers is quite important because the placement of where a server is also impacts the ability for the people who are using the chatbot to get a faster response. So if you have a server in Africa, then you'll get faster responses and it'll be cheaper as well. Whereas if your server is located in the US or located in Europe, then you have to wait for it to travel to you where you are in Africa in order to be able to get a faster response. So I just wanted to contextualize that. Was that clear for anyone? Was that not clear for anyone? Does anyone want to?
So quickly, what does GPU mean? I know you said compute, but I'm assuming it's an acronym.
It is. So it means a graphics processing unit, I think. And then the CPU would be a computer processing unit. You know how people talk about NVIDIA and them having chips and how DeepSeek was a whole drama with the US and it getting semi shut down because they said in China, DeepSeek is a company that made its own equivalent to ChatGPT, but its big popularity gain was, oh, we can do this faster than GPT, but we use less chips, we use less compute. Their big selling point was that they'd figured out a way to not need that much compute. And still have the same level of performance that a ChatGPT has, but ChatGPT has had billions and billions of dollars invested in it. So that was a pretty novel moment where people were like, wow, it's possible to get that same level of performance. But then as time drew on, we found out that actually there was access to more compute than originally the public had thought, through I think Singapore. They had managed to get some of these like graphics processing cards. Um, and I think the original like country agreements hadn't allowed for that, for political reasons at the time. And so it was still less than what GPT and OpenAI uses, I believe, but it wasn't as little as initially we all thought. And so initially graphics processing like units and cards were used for just like creating better visuals. So people who are gamers and things like that needed computers that had a lot of GPU so that they could have their games run faster. And it's sort of the same idea, and better and more streamlined. It's sort of the same idea, but now applied to uh, just like AI broadly.